What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It is time to give you my official updated college football top 25 rankings as we head into week number 2 of the 2025 college football season. So yeah, week 1 is now officially over. 5 days of college football completed, and now we got week 2 coming up this weekend. So I'm going to give you my updated top 25 as we head into this second weekend. And there is going to be some changes here to this top 25, a little bit of changes, not a lot of changes, because I mean it was really like a chaos weekend, but it was really just about those top 10 matchups. Some of those top 10 teams are going to move down, some of them may move like way down, which I'll get to in just a moment, but not a lot of changes here for this top 25 for week number 2. Again, some teams play cupcakes, and we still have a long way to go to kind of figure out what these teams are going to look like as the season goes along, and you really need 4 games to kind of figure out which teams are going to really, jump out to be a surprise team, a disappointing team, and then also a national championship contender. So let's go ahead and jump right into these updated top 25 rankings for week number 2. I'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. So 21 through 25, I got Kansas State at number 25, Texas Tech at 24, Louisville at 23, Ole Miss at 22, and then Alabama at 21. So I know everybody's kind of wondering, how far did I drop Alabama? Well, I'll get to that in just a second. But you look at Kansas State here at number 21. Kansas State, not a great performance against North Dakota. They only won by 3, 38-35. They had to come back from behind and win at the last few seconds of the ball game. And yeah, it definitely would have been a big shock here if Kansas State did lost that game. But either way, they still won the game. Because of that performance, though, they do move down. Last week for me, they were at number 21, so I had to move them down this week. They are now down to number 25, and what really keeps them into the top 25 is because of that loss to Iowa State. Yeah, it is a good loss because Iowa State is 2-0 right now. So yeah, Kansas State, not a great performance for them against North Dakota, but that's a pretty solid North Dakota team by the look of it. So yeah, they only won 38-35, and then Texas Tech, Louisville, and Ole Miss, they all played cupcake opponents this past weekend. Texas Tech, I think, scored 67 in their game. Yeah, pretty dominant performance, but Louisville, Texas Tech, and Ole Miss, their games don't really give us any idea of how good these teams are going to be just yet. We have to see them play like a really tough game first. So yeah, Texas Tech, Louisville, and Ole Miss. Louisville beat Eastern Kentucky, and then Ole Miss beat Georgia State. So these 3 teams all took care of business, scoring some really good, scoring a good amount of points in their games against non-conference opponents and cupcake opponents, if that does make sense. And then Alabama at 21. There is Alabama at 21. I know people probably are going to say, how far did you drop them? Well, they go down a bunch of spots after that loss to Florida State. I don't know what happened to Alabama. I keep wondering what, happened to Alabama in the second half of the game against Florida State, and then also what happened to them really down the stretch of the rest of the game, because this offense, it looked really good on the first drive. They scored the first points of the game, and then I think they just went downhill from there. I don't know if the nerves caught up to them, or maybe that defense kind of, just got worn out or something, because Florida State was running the football pretty well in this game. So yeah, Alabama's defense, they have a long way to go. The offense, it doesn't look super bad, but, Florida State just came ready to play in this one. I feel like Alabama just underestimated Florida State. And, yeah, with that loss, that was enough for me to put Alabama down here at the way bottom of the top 25. It's not going to penalize them out of the top 25. But, Alabama was really close to being out of the top 25, but still, it's Alabama. You can't really drop them outside the top 25 because of their program history. But because of that loss, Alabama does move down from couple of weeks ago they were at number 7, and then last week they were still at number 7 because they haven't played a game yet. Well, now they're all the way down to number 21. I don't really think anybody expected Alabama to drop down pretty early in these rankings early on in 2025, but they do drop. So Alabama goes from number 7 all the way down to number 21 for me in these top 25 rankings. That is my rankings here from 21 through 25. Let's go from 16 through 20 now. 16 through 20 pretty much stays the same. You got SMU at number 20. They took care of business against a cupcake opponent, 42-13. I believe they played East Texas A&M University. So, yeah, they took care of business in that game. So, not much to talk about SMU. They'll play Baylor coming up this weekend. That will kind of be their first real test, but not really that big of a test in my opinion. Baylor, is coming off a loss to Auburn. So, SMU will be favored in that game. And then South Carolina at number 19. They beat Virginia Tech 24-11. Really, 2 plays decided this game. Really changed the difference here, the outcome of this game. It was really low scoring. South Carolina really started out fast in this game, but they really struggled down the stretch. But you look at those 2 big plays, the punt return for the touchdown, and then obviously the big throw by Lenore Sellers from long ways away. Yeah, those 2 plays really decided the difference of that game. So South Carolina, pretty big win over Virginia Tech. Again, I think it was mainly their defense that really what won them this game. And yeah, South Carolina does start off 1-0, beating Virginia Tech 24-11. And then Tennessee at number 18, they also beat an ACC team in Syracuse 45-26. In fact, Tennessee and South Carolina both played in Atlanta this past weekend. So yeah, Tennessee and South Carolina both won their games against ACC opponents. Tennessee's offense looked pretty good in this game against Syracuse, especially the run game. That was really definitely the strength of this offense from what I saw. And then defensively, that defense has got a long way to go. I thought they played pretty well in the first half, but second half, maybe they didn't play so well. But either way, Tennessee is going to get better. Let's face it, these teams will get better as the season goes along. I mean, we're not even close to halfway through the college football season just yet. So Tennessee at number 18. Texas A&M at 17. Kind of a sluggish first half against a pretty good UTSA team by the looks of it, but they were able to pull away in the second half. So Texas A&M took care of business against UTSA definitely in the second half. And then Indiana at 16. Boy, what was wrong with Indiana over the weekend? They only won by 13 against a pretty quality Group of 5 team in Old Dominion. Indiana, though, I think it's pretty much the new faces. They have a long way to go. This team is going to get better with all those new faces on this roster, and they're going to they're going to have to get used to each other. And Mendoza, I wouldn't really say he was bad in this game, but he was 18 of 31. He'll get better as the season goes along. Maybe he's not going to be as good as Curtis Work was, but Kirk Zanetti is a coach that is a winner, and he's going to really motivate this Indiana team once they get into conference play. So yeah, Indiana, it's just one game. We can't overreact too much. It was just a good Old Dominion team, and they really just underestimated them, I guess. So yeah, Indiana here at number 16. Again, 16 through 20 here. Pretty much the same how it's been in the last couple of weeks. Let's now go from 11 through 15. There is Florida State at number 15. Then you got Iowa State at number 14, Illinois at 13, Michigan at 12, and then you got Arizona State at 11. So Florida State goes from being unranked all the way into the top 15 with that win over Alabama. That's a massive win here to kick off the season for the Seminoles, especially after only winning 2 games last year and being the worst Power 4 team last year as well. So yeah, Florida State I think is back to being a top 15 team, and they could be like maybe one of those favorites to get to the ACC championship. I don't want to overreact too much and get them all that hype just yet, but just based off of that victory, Florida State looks like they're going to be a fun team to watch. They got a quarterback that can run the football. Tommy Costello's not really a big quarterback, but he's just a guy that can run the football at you, and their running game looks like it's going to be the strength. And when they have to pass in situations like in 3rd and longs, their receivers will step up. So yeah, Gus Miles on the offensive coordinator really gives this Florida State team a pretty good offense. Compared to last year, it's definitely a lot better this year. And then that defense, I think that defense is going to get much better as the season goes along. So yeah, Florida State here at number 15. And then Iowa State at 14 took care of business against South Dakota. They still have the win over Kansas State, which is enough for me to put them into the top 15. So yeah, Iowa State's already played 2 games. They have Iowa coming up this weekend. That'll be a pretty tough test there for the Cyclones. They do do get that one at home. But it seems like, I always talk about this, when the rivalry between Iowa State and Iowa happens, it seems like the away team always is, going to win that game. So I wouldn't be shocked if that is the outcome of that game. But still, Iowa State is looking like a pretty good team so far. And then Illinois at number 13. They took care of business against a Western Illinois team that really just had no shot to give them a tough game. Illinois won 52-6, so not much to talk about the game, but they do have a tough test coming up on Saturday against Duke, and I believe it's a noon game, so we'll see what Illinois can do against Duke. Duke is also coming off a pretty big win, this past Thursday night, I believe. So, yeah, Blue Devils and Illinois will go at it this weekend. So that will be a pretty big game there. And I think it's really going to be a game where it does decide which team probably goes on to have like a pretty good year the rest of the way. And then you got Michigan here at number 12, 34-17 win over New Mexico. I know it doesn't seem like a big win, but Michigan's got a long way to go. They have a freshman quarterback in Bryce Underwood, and they'll give him his big test coming up this week. And they got Oklahoma coming up on Saturday. That's going to be a massive game. Oklahoma looked pretty good in the first game as well. So yeah, that'll be a massive non-conference game to kind of decide which teams go on to have like a pretty good year. Again, Michigan has a long way to go. I mean, it's just one game, and I know the victory doesn't seem like it's big, but still, win's a win nonetheless. So yeah, Michigan here at number 12, and then Arizona State at number 11. The Sun Devils didn't look great against, Northern Arizona, in my opinion. Kind of similar to Indiana. I don't want to say that the Sun Devils are a bad team just based off of that performance, but again, a win's a win. It's just one game. We can't overreact too much. This Arizona State team is going to get much better as the season goes along. So that's my rankings here from 11 through 15. Let's go from 6 through 10 now. We got Florida here at number 10, Clemson at number 9. Then you got Oregon at 8, Notre Dame at 7, and then Texas at 6. So yeah, Florida does jump into the top 10 here because of their victory over LIU. I know it's not like an important win, but based off of their performance and based off of Arizona State's performance, I had Florida at number 12 last week, and I decided to put them here into the top 10 because against their FCS team, they definitely looked a lot better compared to Arizona State did. So that was kind of enough for me to put the Gators here at number 10. Now we'll see how for real this Florida team is with all the hype that they're getting. In a couple of weeks, they have LSU in Death Valley, which is definitely going to be a tough test, and that's also a big revenge game there for the Tigers. And then they also got Miami, a game that also could be pretty tough. So those two games will kind of tell us about Florida a lot, if they're going to be for real or not this season for 2025. But again, just based off of that first game, they look pretty good. They won 55-0 against LIU. Clemson at number 9, tough loss to LSU by 7 points. Clemson's offense really couldn't do anything in this game. Defensively, they held around, but yeah, Clemson's offense definitely was really inconsistent in this game, and they also made some mistakes. But yeah, Clemson I think is going to be just fine. I'm not going to penalize them outside the top 10 because some of these other teams played cupcake opponents, and that's going to put Clemson here at number 9 in these rankings. So yeah, Clemson, I'm not going to penalize them outside the top 10. I still think this is a team that can win a national championship. But yeah, that LSU game was just a really tough one there for them to kick off the season. And then you got Oregon at number 8. The Ducks looked pretty good in their first game against Montana State, a team that actually went to the FCS title game last year. And yeah, Oregon won big, 42-13. So yeah, the Ducks look like they're going to be a pretty good team, but we have to see them play like a really tough team in order to kind of make them a serious contender in the playoff. And Dante Moore is only going to get better and better as the season goes along. Notre Dame at number 7. Tough loss to Miami by 3. Notre Dame had a chance to come back in this game, but they made so many mistakes as the game went down the stretch. And I don't understand why they didn't stick with the run game that much, but still, I do question about not sticking to the running game from, the takeaways video that I talked about yesterday. Again, CJ Carr is not a bad quarterback, but, Notre Dame is known for their running game. And Jeremiah Love, I feel like, didn't get much touches in this game. Again, CJ Carr played really, really well in this game, but also made some mistakes, and that intentional grounding really kind of changed the difference of the outcome of the game. So yeah, Notre Dame here at number 7. I'm not going to penalize them though for that loss to Miami. It's only going to drop them down here outside the top 5. And then Texas at number 6. So Texas goes from number 1 all the way to number 6. Let's be honest, it was not a great performance against Ohio State, especially on the offensive side of the football. Yeah, Texas has a long way to go. I mean, Texas definitely, I wouldn't say they're in trouble just yet. This is a team that I did pick to win the national championship. I'm still not going to change my mind, but still, based off of that loss to Ohio State, it was just not a great performance. And Arch Manning still has a long way to go, and I get it. He had all that hype and everything, but this was basically his first real test. So Texas here at number 6. Again, I'm not going to penalize them outside the top 10 basically for just losing to a top 3 team in Ohio State. And then we go to the top 5 here. You got Miami at number 5. They beat Notre Dame, of course, 27-24. Again, I think Miami was pretty lucky to win this game because they nearly blew, this game. They had a 10-point lead, a comfortable lead going into like the fourth quarter, and then Notre Dame just came back and they tied the game up. But the game-winning field goal, and then of course, forcing the intentional grounding, that really changed the difference of the outcome of the game. And again, Miami definitely deserves to be in the top 5, especially after that win over Notre Dame. And then you got Georgia and Penn State. They both took care of business against really lesser opponents. Georgia, of course, beat Marshall, and then Penn State beat Nevada. So yeah, Penn State and Georgia don't really move much here in these rankings. And then you got LSU at number 2. So I put LSU all the way up to number 2. I know people are not going to agree with this, but the Clemson game really kind of boosts them up here to the top 5, and then also definitely here at number 2. That is a great win for LSU, and that definitely puts them ahead of Penn State and Georgia in this top 25. So I didn't want to put Miami at number 3 because, I couldn't really put Penn State and Georgia down because they won a game over the weekend, and that definitely made a lot of sense here to put LSU at number 2 because of that win over, of course, Clemson, and then obviously Texas dropping outside the top 5. So I decided to put LSU here at number 2 and then keep Penn State and Georgia here at 3 and 4 since they play less competition. And then, of course, Miami beat Notre Dame. That's enough for them to put them into the top 5, and that definitely makes sense to put them in the top 5. And then Ohio State at number 1. Ohio State, of course, beating Texas. I think that clearly puts them here at that number 1 spot. This Ohio State defense really isn't going anywhere. I talked about this in the takeaways video. This defense looks like it's picking up right where it left off last year. The offense is going to take a little time to get better, but still, if Ohio State's offense can come along and that defense can do what it did against Texas, this Ohio State team is going to be dangerous. And I think that's the same thing here for LSU. What they did in the game against Clemson because of their defense, and if that offense can come along, LSU, Ohio State, maybe Miami as well, could be very dangerous teams heading into 2025. Again, Penn State, Georgia, we still have to see them play like a really tough game in order to kind of make them a little bit of a real contender. So that's my top 5, and that's also my updated college football top 25 rankings heading into officially week number 2 of the college football season. I am going to have a new video idea coming up tomorrow, so stay tuned for that video coming out. But let me know what you think about my top 25 rankings and give me your top 25 down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports YouTube channel.